Let's test this out. All right. Theme song in 3, 2. And welcome back to Late Night Lately, the late night show. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the late night show for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Here we are. Episode 52 of this show. I swear to God, if this is not 52, I'm going to be so mad. I just cut a bunch of video. Quite frankly, because I forget it is 52. Quite frankly, because I forgot. And I've just been putting it off. And last week's episode was late uploading. Hopefully this week's episode is not. But here we are, episode 52. It's Friday afternoon. I still have to record the Constitutionals. Although I did have an interview with a comedian. So that's pretty fun. Here we are. Late night has been suffering as of late because of all the things they have to cover when it comes to late night, and by all the things they have to cover, I mean the one thing. There was a point in time when I thought, I'll be quite frank. There was a point in time when I thought, oh man, we got it in the bag. Kamala's gonna win. And this guy will just be a footnote in history. Oh my gosh. It is crazy how they still have to talk about this stuff. But this is how it is. Anyway. That's all I thought I would bring up. I'm scrolling through some stories for late night stuff. So if it seems as though I'm lost, it's because I am. We have a trailer this week for Last Week Tonight, which will be back in mid-February, which would be a nice return. Although that's a show I've gotten tired of. But it's fine. It's fine. All right, let's talk about what happened this week in late night. Tonight's show had a big week upon the return of Pete Davidson. They also had people like Reese Witherspoon, Amy Schumer, but most importantly, they had Sadie Sink. Sadie Sink has spent some time in Atlanta. I saw her, ran into her. One Friday night on the belt line. Saw her, Gatton Mazzarato, and Wolf. Not Wolf Blitzer, Finn Wolfhard is what I meant to say. I saw them. I thought for a second, who's that beautiful redhead? I was like, oh, that's Sadie Sink. Within a split second, I was like, that's Sadie Sink. I was biking, waiting at a stoplight, saw them. They did not see me. Late Night with Seth Meyers had a nice little week too. I'm looking at a clip that I don't think I saw in an episode. This might have been a between the desk bit. But along with people like Gretchen Whitmer and Alan Cumming and Sterling K. Brown, he also had Emilio Vitolo, who, if I remember correctly, during this segment, or during when Seth was at the top of the show after the monologue before the desk piece, before a closer look, talking about, or not a closer look, it probably was with Back in My Day. And the last time Emilio Vitolo was on, this restaurateur / celebrity chef, or I guess New York chef, he holds the record for late night with Seth Meyers, the most bleeps in a segment. It was a fun little segment. And James Austin Johnson does a really good impression of Kamala Harris, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's got everything down. And, what's interesting is about 2 hours ago, I was on the couch. And before golf started, golf is on full autonomy. Golf is on the AT&T Pebble Beach program. is on television right now, right behind me. If you're watching the video, you can see the flashes from the living room. I'm missing this for you. The last thing I saw was Rory McIlroy, and I'll timestamp this. Rory McIlroy took a drive right off, and it veered to the right. He went over these trees, skipped an entire section of the course, and landed on the green. It's amazing. Like it was so skillful. Anyway, but James, I saw that James Oscar Johnson interview, and then 2 hours ago, I saw this video from the Wedding Singer. No, not the Wedding Singer. What was it was a Josh Gad movie. Okay, I wrote Josh Gode. Wedding Ringer. The Wedding Ringer. And Jennifer Lewis was in the movie with him, and there was I guess this was on the DVD extras, but Josh Gad does a great impression of Jennifer Lewis. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. Anyway, Conor O'Malley returned, and just every time he appears, it is just, I hate using this word because it's now reviews, but it was chaotic. It was so fun and so funny. Just the blame he puts on Seth is hilarious. After Midnight is still going in full force. They keep having these return players, which is fine. But one thing I noticed when I started watching the episode, the first episode from this week, Margaret Cho. I went as soon as I saw. Is that Margaret Cho? Margaret Cho was on. And if anything, I think I still hold this reverence for comedians that I grew up with, who probably aren't the biggest names anymore, but I just think, like, even if you listen to the interview that comes out next week on the Constitutionals feed, who are the people who subscribe to this but not subscribe to the Constitutionals? I hate hearing him talk to himself about the entertainment business. I just want to hear him talk about late night or jobs. Then you'll hear me talk about some of my favorite specials, and they're not necessarily my favorites, but they're ones that define a moment of my life. And one of them was I think the very first full special I watched was an Ellen DeGeneres one, and there were definitely some jokes I did not understand because I was too young. But I definitely should not have been watching Comedy Central. But it's okay. Look who I am today. I'm wearing a ill-fitted pink shirt. Usually I would, this is nothing. Usually with this shirt I would roll up the sleeves, but if I roll up the sleeves, my forearms are so big that it stretches out the wrist. And which is what I call the sleeves are like the wrist collars, the hand collars. Have collars for shirts. I'm going to stop. Never mind. And I just don't want to stretch out the sleeves. Anyway, Kristen Shaw, Reggie Watts, Kurt Brownohler. I interviewed Kurt Brownohler years ago. They popped up. And then what I also like, Caitlin Riley also was there too for an episode. But last night's episode was an all drag night. Usually they'll have like one drag person on every so often, and then they just had an all drag night. That's fun. I love a theme night. It just happened. For the late show for Stephen Colbert, I think about this constantly. Okay, hold on. I'll get to a sec. Will Ferrell popped up for an entire episode. Drew Barrymore was there. Brandon Scott Jones talking about ghosts. And Chris Hayes, the lovely, very smart Chris Hayes. I believe he has a new book out. Nicole Scherzinger sang a song. I can never pinpoint this down. Nicole Kidman did the Colbert questionnaire. When do they do the questionnaires? Like I assume questionnaire. The Colbert questionnaire is, if you don't know what it is, it's like a segment on its own in lieu of an interview. And I assume they do it. This is when I thought they did it. I feel like they either do it when they have somebody big, they're like Oprah. They'll just do her stuff super early, like well before they even do the monologue or something. And because that person only has a set amount of time, and then get them out of there. Or they get them for an extended amount of time. They do the interview like normal, and then they do this questionnaire. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite book? Where's this? Where's that? Because it's in front of audience. And then they release it in a couple of weeks as an episode bonus. Just saying. That's what my thoughts are. And his final part, final one, excuse me. No, it's next one, not final one. Next one, Michael Costa hosted this week on The Daily Show. I think he also hurt his leg somehow. And then they did more Sports War, which is great. And Lewis Black popped up. They also sent Grace Klunenschmidt out to talk about social media on the streets. Ever since they admitted that Dulce Sloan is that she no longer works there, I feel like this show has really shown all that it is at this point in time, and that is they'll send Grace and Troy. They'll utilize Grace and Troy Iwata, Grace Kludenschmidt, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right, and Troy Iwata. They'll utilize them the most, and then and Josh Johnson, because I believe he still writes for the program, along with being a correspondent. So they'll utilize them the most throughout the week, and the other correspondents / co-hosts, which include Michael Costa, Ronnie Chang, Desi Leidick, and Jordan Klepper, they'll go shoot bigger stories out around the nation, around the world, and sometimes tap in for correspondent stories in studio. I don't subscribe to any Daily Show podcasts. I believe Jon Stewart hosts the weekly show, and Jordan Klepper's... Does Jordan Klepper have a podcast for the Daily Show? I don't know. But I know Dulce Sloan and Josh Johnson had a podcast. I don't know if it's still going on. And they also have the Daily Show Ears Edition. I wonder if their slew of podcasts are still going on. I'll never check. Finally, The Weeknd. I just went ahead and blew my load. The Weeknd, Jesus. The Weeknd debuted a new song on Jimmy Kimmel Live. That was what I woke up to this morning. I had no idea. I love The Weeknd. I had no idea that his album was going to drop this week. Now, he held it off because of the LA fires, but that was 2 weeks ago. It's great. He dropped it this week, and then also I listened to, I watched the Fire Aid concert that happened in Los Angeles at the Intuit Dome in the Kia Forum. I watched all 6 hours. That is not a joke. Between 10:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. because I was skipping through some stuff. I was skipping through the talking. I know they were there to get donations, but I was just like, I want to see Joni Mitchell. I want to see her sitting in that gold throne. So bad. And there we go. That's everything that happened this week. There's also news that also The Weeknd's album was good. I listened to it at the gym this morning. Literally the first thing I listened to this morning. Besides Peloton stuff. This comes from Variety, written by Michael Schneider. How much longer do I have in this? John Mulaney's Netflix talk show sets release date. Quote, not since Harry and Meghan has Netflix given more money to someone without a specific plan. Guys, the John Mulaney talk show, Everybody's Live with John Mulaney, which is based on his 4-day stint as a talk show host on Netflix. Everybody's in LA several months ago, which was as far as showcases and fun things go for Netflix. Dang it, if that was not fun. I loved it. I loved it so much. I watched every single episode. I tried to watch it live too. Everybody's Live with John Mulaney. airs or starts airing on March 12th. What is that? The show will initially air live weekly for 12 weeks. What is March 12th? Let me go to my calendar. March. That's a Wednesday. Okay. That's a good day. It's better than a Friday. We will be live globally with no delay. Mulaney told press, we will never be relevant. We will never be your source for news. We will always be reckless. Netflix will always provide us with data that we will ignore. Oh yeah, Everybody's in LA was in May during the Netflix is a Joke Festival. Do you ever just remember something so vividly, like a time period so vividly, you can go, oh yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. No, that was in May. Oh my gosh. It was hot outside. Yeah, that's right. Mulaney says we're having trouble finding Samo, so we're just keep ordering Shastas and ginger ales and hoping that he'll roll up. Richard and I met through a real life baby reindeer scenario. Oh, will Richard Kind be back? Richard Kind will be back, and Samo will definitely be back. Samo is this robot that delivers things in LA, a real robot that rides down sidewalks. That if you order something, it can deliver it to you if you live within that radius. Everybody's in LA was very fun. And I can't wait for this to happen again. It's going to be funny. And Netflix has really gotten good at airing live events. The WWE stuff has been fantastic. I don't know how ratings have been. But if I'm on Netflix on a Monday, then I'll tune in for half a second. I will not be watching. I'm not a wrestling person. I tried to be. Oh, you better believe I tried to be a wrestling person. I just never was. The roast of Tom Brady went off without it. I think the roast of Tom Brady worked so well, and it worked the way that WWE Raw works on Netflix. But I did not watch the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. That one did not go very well. I tried to do the Chris Rock one, but I only watched like a couple of seconds. It wasn't when it was live. I watched it after the fact. No laughs to be had. I don't watch Joe Rogan. Again, no laughs to be had. I will not be watching that guy. Although, News Radio. Was it News Radio? Yeah, News Radio. Oh, God, that was a funny show. He was in News Radio. That's why I said that title of that show. And then the Christmas Day NFL games were fantastic. I guess I'm lucky because I never had any issues with the Netflix live streaming stuff. But then again, my router is right next to my TV. They're both Google products, so maybe the TV stick I use at Google. I'm not buying a Google Android TV. No way. I'll buy an LG TV where they refuse to update the software. Oh, I love it when Georgia Public Broadcasting emails me. This show has to be different from Netflix's previous outings in the late night sphere. There was a Joel McHale version of Talk Soup. He basically redid that show. Michelle Williams is what I was going to say. Michelle Wolf had a late night show that, for all intents and purposes, was great. It was a great show, and I blame Netflix for that. Hassan Minaj's was great. If anything, it was a little overproduced, which was, I would probably say, one of that show's biggest weaknesses. One of my biggest weaknesses is that I love too much. And who else had a late night show? Oh, Chelsea. Chelsea had a show on there that at the time it was a good show. I mean, it was a good show. Yeah. It was a chat show. I wouldn't call it a late night show. But at the time, it was something that they gave it more of a chance than they gave Hassan's show. I think Hassan's show really faltered because of the pandemic. When they had to, I think that show really lived by its audience. And And the brown people in the audience, like they were so happy to see Hassan do well. I was happy to see Hassan do well, even though I think that show was overproduced. I still think Hassan did a fantastic job. What it takes for a show like Michelle Wolf's, like Hassan's show, like Chelsea's show, like Joel McHale's show, for those shows to succeed, Netflix would have to give it more oomph. And even if in this article they write that Michael writes that Hassan's show failed to gain traction, it's those shows, for better or worse, stood out among the late night fare. Chelsea's show at the time, but I think besides Sam B, they were the only two late night, the women in late night. Again, I don't know if I don't know if I would categorize Chelsea's show as late night, but at that point on Netflix, her other show was the one on E. Was that E? Yeah. And then Hassan's show, again, overproduced, but it was in the same vein as The Daily Show, as Last Week Tonight. And it worked. But as much money as they throw at these overt affairs, with these middling movies, as much as I enjoyed Back in Action, I don't know. I don't know if it was the movie that Jamie Foxx really wanted to put out. No, it's the movie that he wanted to put out. I don't know if it's the movie that was going to be the comeback for Cameron Diaz. Is this thing off center? Oh, the camera's off center. I touched it because of the interview I did. I moved it because of the interview I did. Anyway. But Netflix has to, with Everybody's Live, sure, it's going to be a showcase of how the live aspect can be viable for Netflix. But they have to understand that it's going to take time to build something. You can't just give it 12 episodes. First of all, 3 episodes is not going to show what the show can do. After Midnight didn't find its voice until maybe 6 months in. And even still, like I'd say maybe until Taylor got her monologue. Taylor started doing the monologue. That's when the show really found what it was, as opposed to just a clone of At Midnight, or just a follow-up to At Midnight. The same thing goes for Late Night with Seth Meyers. That show was, I watched it from the beginning. That show was fun and funny, but it was a little too uptight. Once he sat down, literally, he was standing up for his monologue. Once he sat down, then he was comfortable. And that was a year and change into it. That was at a time when I was going to stop watching. There was a point where I was like, maybe I shouldn't watch every episode. And then I remember within my decision of me saying I'm going to stop watching and the show returning at some point, he sat down. So they have to give these shows time to live and expand. And I think that Everybody's in LA can be, I used the word expand a couple of seconds ago, can be an expansion of the late night format. And I mean, in any case, it doesn't have to be a late night show just because it'll air, I assume, live at 10 p.m. on the East Coast doesn't mean it'll technically be a late night show. It'll be a fun talk show variety show. I want to see it. Also, I believe Conan O'Brien was on Good Morning America this week to talk about hosting the Oscars. So there you go. Okay, listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people sometimes. Go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy if you want to see a video version of this show. And if you want to see a video version of the other shows, including, God, you know what? I pressed go and the music wasn't going. It's my fault. because I didn't engage it. Anyway, video versions of the Constitutionals podcast and LinkedIn logs, both on youtube.com/comedy. Subscribe to those wherever you get your podcasts. Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, @C+Comedy, me, @ChadBlackWhite. Thank you so much. Bye.